Okay, thanks. That looks like it's settled down. Welcome everyone. My name is Peter Scott from the Institute of Advanced Study at the University of Warwick. Welcome to this session on early career research development. We have a panel of speakers from around EUTOPIA Alliance to present to you today. And we hope that there'll be plenty of time for questions after that from those colleagues. So we'll be hearing first from Flora Kukiu from
hello, from Sergi. Hello.
And I'll introduce Flora in a second. We also have Alex Stingel from Warwick, also Sarah Penny from IAS, Sigurdur Beck from Göteborg, and Arnaud Lefranc from Sergi as well. So the format will be that we're going to just have short presentations from these colleagues around the subject of what we're doing for postdoc career development, early career research and career development, and then will be some questions after that for you to ask. Because of course everybody apart from the speakers will be muted, then if you could put those questions into the chat at any time, and hopefully I'll be able to pick them up and put them to the panel as we go along. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Flora Kukiu. She's a professor of theoretical physics at Sergi Paris University with interests in mathematical physics and statistical mechanics, and has a long experience of evaluation of EC research programs. She's also deputy director of the IAS at Sergi Paris University, one of our sister organizations over there. And she's going to play a leading role in the EUTOPIA SIF program, which we're all part of, and of course the delivery of the postdoc training and development program, which is really core to our discussions today. So without further ado, I'll pass on to you, Flora.
So, hello to everybody. Could you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I have to just present myself. So I think Peter did everything, said everything. So what we have, thank you very much for your introduction, and thank you very much for organizing this event. By the way, I enjoyed very, very much your speech yesterday on in the industry and academia partnerships. What I have just to present during the 5 minutes is just to point out 5 or 6 points of interest in the dimension. Maybe I can just list what I have to do. Apart from the 2 pillars of good, excellent research and education, we have to integrate good working and hosting conditions for the trainees, good work and life balance, to encourage the mobility. This is a very important point. Not only the geographic, but also the thematic mobility is very important to encourage networking and the development of communication capacities towards colleagues, academia, and even general public. And another important thing to list during this and discuss during the meeting is how to make the trainees and the fellows independent by giving them responsibilities of organizing events, of propose and teaching new training modules, of searching grants, organize conferences. So to give them responsibility, the trainees have to be also aware of their research outcomes at the regional, national, and international level. And lastly, we have also, again, we have to encourage them to extend their traditional research experience, and they have to be strongly supported to develop the interdisciplinarity. This is the most important, in my opinion, aspect of the period of the early career of the postdoc fellowship. And we have also to point out that EUTOPIA Alliance could be an excellent vector for the development of this interdisciplinary aspect. And another point, because Arno and you, Peter, you are running two institutes of advanced study, maybe we have also to consider and to integrate the intersectorial and interdisciplinarity aspects of the institutes can offer for the trainees. This is the point I have to present.
That's a really important point. One thing that I've been observing of myself in coming to these meetings this week is that how much commonality and agreement there is around colleagues in the Alliance about how to go forward, and I've just got the feeling I'm going to hear even more of that today. So that's really super to hear. Thank you. It has been a characteristic of working with colleagues in the Alliance so far. Thank you. So now I'm going to give Alex Stingel an opportunity to speak to us. Alex is a World Co-Fund Fellow, so he is currently working on a project which actually one of our other speakers, Anna Frank, has had some involvement with in helping us do selections there in years gone by. Alex works at the Institute of Advanced Study as well, and he is concerned with the concept of the bioeconomy. And he's recently presented work at Warwick describing how this concept of a greener, sustainable economy is subverted by an old economic model, a model rooted in a framework of fossil-based economy. And it's a very exciting and very timely area of research. So Alex has a PhD in sociology in 2008. Although his work is incredibly interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary. He's held a number of fellowships around Europe, and he plays a very important role in career development, early career research development at Warwick, and delivering skills workshops as well as part of his fellowship of the Global Research Network. So without further ado, I shall pass on to Alex. Thank you.
Thank you for this very kind introduction, which makes me sound far more prolific than I am. And prolific is something that will be a little bit a theme of what I have to say. Talking about what a postdoc to full career academic program should look like, and what postdocs should consider. I'm spanning this between two kinds of ideas. The first is, and I think most people have heard about that, is this traditional 3P model that you have publications, pedigree, and politics to consider. So the right publications in the right journals, like do you come from the right institution? And then the politics being like the politics of your field, the politics of the department you are going to, that you're aware of these. So this is what is often said, like you need to consider for a successful career. You can go, however, I feel another way if you don't have any or all of these 3Ps, or you reject them, as some people actually do, say, no, this is not really a working model, you know, meritocracy, etc., is not working. And this is the 1P model, the being prolific. Being prolific can mean a number of things, and you have to find a way of what does it mean for you personally, individually, and in the environment and communities you want to go to. The first thing to do is actually build your profile, right? And think about what your profile is and how it fits in with that 3P model. Like, how can you address it and still be successful with your profile in a world that is not necessarily built for your profile? That means learning a lot about the implicit skills in the field. I cannot tell you in your individual field what the 3Ps might be like, but I can tell you there are certainly things you don't know because you haven't been taught them, and you need to learn how to ask about them and to dare ask about them. It's very important that you learn unwritten rules about your field and understand that there are unwritten rules which you might not know. And I think it's very important to talk very openly about that with people. And I've learned at the IAS at Warwick, people are very receptive to that. which makes it a bit of a unique place, and I expect the EUTOPIA program to actually work along those lines as well. I also want to say that building a profile, there are skills in, for example, academic governance, kind of side skills, which you have to seek out the opportunities for. For example, if you are offered being a reviewer, and I don't mean a journal reviewer, I mean if you're offered being a reviewer for other applications, say at the IS, for example, somebody asks you, do you want to review a couple of applications for us? If you're asked on a review panel from a foundation that you have contact with, you should seek out these opportunities, even if they may not seem so important at first, or time consuming while you want to focus on your research. But these are very important skills, not just for you to learn, but also for employers to look at, because employers not only look at people who only have a great publication list, or only have, or also have like the right pedigree, come from Harvard University, whatever, right, or Oxford, but they're also looking for people who can actually do all the nitty-gritty work and understand how it works. I think these are experiences you should really seek out. They're important opportunities, because with the next step you're making as an academic, it's also from postdoc, where you are a mentee, you're becoming a mentor, right? You're becoming a teacher for people. And that means you also have to explain to them all of this implicit knowledge of what it is like to write a grant application, for example, to figure out how to read even a review, a bad review they get for a paper, to understand, is this a review by somebody who's just nasty, or is there even a nasty language something you can use? So it's a number of skills you need to learn to become, a mentor for other people, to become part of the governance and the bureaucracy and the infrastructure. And this is not something that everybody has on their mind, but everybody should have on their mind, whether or not you're designing a program or you're a postdoc yourself. And that leads me to the two final points. One is, and Flora has mentioned this, is to look out for your well-being. You have to integrate that into your profile, your own well-being and mental health, and learn about that. And it's not something that's usually taught in postdoc programs, doctoral programs, but it is important. And you also need to learn how to read your future mentees' mental state and their well-being, because that is a very, very important skill for you to have to become a good mentor, to understand what's going on with yourself and with the others around you, especially once you're responsible for. And that leads me to the final point, the future of academic leadership in this regard. It's about community. It's about community building. As a researcher, as doing public engagement, as a mentor, all these things that you're doing are about finding, reaching, building, maintaining communities. My work right now is drifting like outside of my research more and more in this direction of like figuring out how can I actually not just build communities, but teach early career scholars how to do this using the different social media in the right way. Do you want to do Twitch streams, Instagram, Twitter? What works for you? How can I find it out? And use it to build communities, to maintain them, to care for others, care for myself as a scholar, as a researcher, as a scientist, and a human being. And this brings together, once you figure out what is what, this brings together your profile. And once you have your profile and you begin to sharpen it and go to your communities with it and build your communities with it, that's when you become prolific, right? And that's the struggle, that's the journey, but that's the adventure. So you can do the 3P models that can contribute to your profile, but you should focus on your profile, not the 3Ps per se. Who are you? What do you want to do? And how do you care for yourself and others to make a community and keep it going? That's my 5 cents of, I'm not sure if it's wisdom, but experience that I can share. I hope it is helpful.
Thank you, Alex. It certainly is. And it certainly got me thinking about the way things were when I was looking for an academic position the first time, and how different it is now. It's very interesting stuff. Thank you. I'm sure that'll generate lots of interesting questions. So next, we have a colleague from IES Warwick, Dr. Sarah Penny. Sarah is completed a PhD in Theatre and Performance Studies at Warwick, which is an inherently interdisciplinary project, of course. She was focused on cultural, significance of amateur dramatic performances and role-playing communities. And I'm pleased to say she joined us in January in 2020, so quite a time to be starting to manage a career development program. And all of the changes that have had to happen since then. Well, Sarah has really got a hold of this, and she's been a wonderful colleague. And so she's made a lot of changes and was hopefully going to be telling us something a little bit about what's been going on at Warwick in the next few minutes. So I won't say any more about that. I'll leave it to Sarah.
Brilliant. Thank you, Pete. Very kind introduction as well. So yes, you're correct. I'm going to be taking this time just to tell you a little bit more about the IIS's postdoctoral training program, Accolade, its ethos, and our key considerations and approaches in creating that program, and one that continues to serve the development needs of our scholars. So a bit of context, IIS is part of a wider provision actually of support at Warwick that includes human resources and organisational development to support researcher development across the university. IIS is committed to the career development of postdoc researchers specifically, and we've created a system of distinctive and sector-leading support for postdocs in the form of fellowship schemes and awards, and in our flagship academic careers and leadership programme, Accolade. So the IIS has established a campus-wide postdoc community that continues to grow through its schemes, and that encompasses scholars who have just completed their PhD, right through to scholars who may have 5, perhaps even 10 years of postdoc research experience behind them. So Accolade's mission is to help all our fellows at the point they join us in taking their next steps, whatever they may look like, to establish their independent academic careers. So to achieve this, we have created an intensive twice-weekly online program of training events, interdisciplinary research panels, and webinars and networking events. The foundations of this program is 3 interwoven strands, and that's community, you'll be pleased to hear, Alex, careers, and leadership. So all 3 of these factors come into equal consideration when we are designing our program, and this integrated approach has allowed us to support scholars who are at various stages of their career. So how do these strands then actually manifest in our program? So firstly, we actively develop and maintain a university-wide community of postdocs, and we do see regularly 50 to 60 fellows participate in our events weekly, and it's that inclusive ethos and that opportunity to engage with and support peers, just as Alex was saying earlier, which is crucial actually to creating a program that's really fit for purpose and engaging for scholars. Building opportunities for peer-to-peer support and for reflective group exercises reduces the risk of social isolation and low morale. And those are issues, as we know, that many postdocs face due to short-term contracts or staggered arrivals or frequent relocations. And co-creation and co-facilitation of events by fellows is also key to Accolade success. So allowing fellows to share their skills, to share their knowledge from years of research to help their peers. And that really results in an improved program that's really driven by the community itself and the formative feedback from fellows. By building a strong community of practice, we also, of course, form a network of scholars that encourages interdisciplinary collaboration and innovative new projects too. Our career strand aims to provide fellows with knowledge about the HE sector and an ability to demonstrate that knowledge in application or interview. So our content is all about giving fellows insight into the strategic priorities of UK universities and facilitates opportunities to be part of a wider conversation about teaching, about research practices, and about the challenges within the sector. Another aspect is that incorporating facilitators from a variety of backgrounds is also crucial, as is hearing the personal journeys of others. So together, these really enable fellows to really recognise and navigate the challenges that face them as individuals. And that's really important, especially when deciding on their own career steps. So the leadership strand seeks to develop self-awareness and around behavioural style, interpersonal competencies and knowledge about leadership roles and responsibilities in higher education, so that fellows may become future leaders in academia. And I think there is this expectation that leadership skills and experience will largely be attained on the job, but a more proactive and structured approach is necessary. So with external support from Nicola Jones of Athena Professional, we've built a leadership framework that sets out really clear interpersonal competencies that inform the learning outcomes of our programme and also outline the observable behaviours that we want fellows to demonstrate in their practice. So together, these strands form the foundation of Accolade, and rather than working in isolation, they influence every aspect of our programme, the scheduling, the content and delivery of every session we run, making our programme unique and inclusive and always relevant to the needs of our community. And finally, I'd say if anyone is developing a programme or is thinking about how they can support postdoc development, I'd say these things. Remember that the postdoc community is not a homogenous one. Do not underestimate the experience and knowledge that's in the room, and listen to fellows and really make them a part of the formative feedback and the development of your programme. And don't be afraid to seek expert advice. That's everything from me. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed, Sarah. Again, adding to the spectrum of views on this, all of which seem to be triangulating on the same kind of thing. It's really interesting to see. So our next speaker is Sigurdur Beck from the University of Gothenburg. Another historian, actually. I suppose I would call Sarah Penny a historian as well. It's quite difficult around the place sometimes to see what particular subjects one can apply to colleagues around here. But Sigurdur is a PhD in history and has developed a career in administration and is head of Grants and Innovation Office at the University Research Board at the University of Gothenburg. But particularly important for today, Sigurdur's role is as co-leader of Gothenburg's Research Leader Initiative, which is a program for young research leaders, which of course is related closely to the program that Sarah's just been talking about. So this combines research leadership tools and research skills and is designed to prepare early career researchers for future academic leadership. So extremely relevant to today, of course. So again, welcome, Sigurdur, and look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. And thank you for organizing this and inviting me. I already have lots of new ideas for the University of Gothenburg, but I can also see that this is going to be a great postdoc program that we can put together for SIF. And as you mentioned, the University of Gothenburg does not offer for now a specific postdoc program, but we offer REAL, the Research Leader Initiative, which I mean, listening to Sarah aligns much with our thoughts of that program. This program was created 6 years ago to facilitate the next step, that is when young leaders actually need tools to continue in their career. And it has two strands, maybe it has three strands. I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking, Sarah, but one strand is the leadership tools. As previous speaker was saying, well, we sort of think that this is all done, but it isn't. So we definitely need more leadership skills within academia overall. So the earlier you can start with that, the better is my take on that. And the other part is then, so this program is created at the Grants and Innovation Office and HR, cooperation between the two. And the second strand is research leader skills, but these again could be just research skills in general. And I'll come back to that. And it hasn't occurred to me before, but of course, the third strand is the community, because we provide the network for the people that are in the program. So this is an annual program, and we accept 24 participants. And it's important for us that the participants come from all faculties. We have 8 faculties, all from faculty of fine and applied arts, and faculty of medicine, and faculty of business and IT. So you can understand that this is quite a fun group to work with. And this group, after each year, the same feedback comes, that they're so grateful to have been able to get to know each other and learn from each other. And we actively use coaching methods and triads for them to continue to work and develop their own research leader or research skills. And when it comes to the research skills, I mean, we do the grant writing course, which is very much appreciated course when all the participants also go into and dive into each other's text, and it can become very philosophical and very nitty-gritty and very much fun, and it always ends up being better, the text, that is, hopefully. But we also do we do sessions on ethics, on gender and diversity, because the Grants and Innovation Office in the University of Gothenburg, we have Grants Office, but also the Innovation Office. So we provide a session of utilization, impact, and immaterial property rights as well. And we have the legal support also at the office. So we try to connect the things, and well, everything basically from preparation to publication, and then making results public, becoming professional. The research leaders need practice when it comes to that all the time as well, of course, and seeing that these are young people, this is what they want. You could, of course, add much more, but I think that and we could definitely do even more, but this is a balance, of course, of how much time can you use. So I would be happy to discuss that, how to actually set up a program and balance the time. I mean, researchers don't have all the time in the world usually. So, but yeah, so networking, community, research skills, leader skills, not only if you are a leader, but also bringing in the self-awareness, I think is very important for both leader initiatives and a postdoc program. So that would be my take on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's really interesting. Yeah, I've scribbling some questions down there that I might, if there's an opportunity, might be able to ask myself if see how things go. So thank you very much indeed. Sigurdur, for that. So finally, for the presentations, we come to Professor Arnaud Lefranc from Cergy, Paris University. Arnaud is a professor of economics and also director of the Institute for Advanced Study at Cergy, and also VP, Vice President for International Scientific Development. So he's a busy guy too. So Arnaud was the coordinator and the central person in the development of the EUTOPIA SIF fellowship scheme, which we were awarded recently, and will fund 76 postdoc fellowships across the EUTOPIA partners over the next 5 years. And this is something that's obviously really at the top of our agenda at the moment. In fact, we've made a call for applications for this in the last few weeks, and we'll be receiving applications for those for the rest of the year. So the purpose of this program is to develop next generation of research leaders in Europe, and so that's extremely relevant, of course, to our conversation today. So I'll pass over to you, Arnaud. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Pete, for the introduction and for organizing this very useful session. I'm going to share some slides. Can you all see that? Yeah, as an entry point into this discussion on the career development needs of early stage researchers, I would like to highlight some of the features of the Science and Innovation Fellowship Program that Pete just mentioned, and to discuss how through this program we mean to provide useful training and a useful environment for early stage researchers to develop into full-fledged scholars. So the Science and Innovation Fellowship Program is really a joint initiative of the 6 universities of the EUTOPIA Alliance, and I have the pleasure of running this program for the first year that the program is launched. So the call for application is up and running. I encourage you to look at the website for the program and to either apply yourself or encourage colleagues and younger fellows to apply to the program, and keep in mind that the closing date for application is next January. Very briefly, this is an integrated postdoctoral fellowship program that is developed across the 6 universities of the EUTOPIA Alliance, with the ambitious goal of offering outstanding opportunities for talented early stage researchers to not only develop their research skills, but also beyond that, expand their career prospects in many ways, hopefully addressing the needs identified in particular by Alex and Sarah, as well as to explore new research horizons, and to produce research with a clear scientific and societal impact. One of the topics of the program is a set of key societal and scientific challenges that shape the future of our planet, the technologies that we're going to use, and the societies that we live in. So the program has 5 key research areas identified. I'm listing them here. It goes from data science, data and intelligence, materials engineering, health, as well as sustainability issues. Welfare and inclusion is the 5th key research area. This should be understood in a very broad sense. I mean, as you can tell, it covers the full spectrum from experimental science to social science, and including more formal sciences. It's also open to humanities and other sort of disciplines that are not usually called sciences, as long as they contribute to a deeper understanding of the stakes behind these 5 key research areas. This program has the ambition of, as Pete said, of producing a new cohort of future research leaders in Europe, and the program will run for 5 years. We'll enroll about 76 fellows. This year we're opening 20 positions, and I'm really looking forward to going through the selection process and seeing how many brilliant scholars we've been able to attract with this program, each of them carrying exciting new research projects. Um, let me focus now more on the career development needs of early stage researchers and how the program wishes to address them. So here I've listed a few of the program's elements that I think would be very useful for um, uh, early stage researchers to grow from, let's say, worm to butterfly. The first aspect to emphasize is that the program will offer expert academic mentoring, and I think that's a very important aspect of what, for instance, Alex mentioned in terms of how you acquire this sort of in-depth knowledge of the rules of the game and the practices and the things that are relevant to do in your own discipline. This is partly acquired through deep exchange between fellows and their mentors and the broader network in which they take part. This being said, another aspect of the program is to offer what we hope to be very relevant training opportunities for fellows, ranging from disciplinary skills to more transversal generic skills that are useful in a research careers, and that goes from communication skills, leadership skills, as Sigridur emphasized, as well as knowing how to secure independence in research. There's a third aspect of the program that is quite distinctive, which is the emphasis put on impact and innovation awareness. The program aims at enhancing fellows' awareness of the impact of their own research beyond academia, through, in particular, intersectoral exposure, engagement with non-academic stakeholders of their research, so that their research can have an economic impact, a societal impact more broadly. So the program features the possibility for fellows to undertake a secondment with non-academic partners. The fourth feature is interdisciplinarity. It has already been identified as an important need to develop a full-fledged academic profile. Clearly, the 5 research areas and more generally any important societal challenges that academics are faced with require a multifaceted, multidisciplinary approach. And one of the aims of the program is to allow fellows to reach out beyond the borders of their own discipline to engage exchange with other fellows, other scholars from other disciplines, but having useful and complementary insights into the core topics that each fellow's research address. The program also emphasizes outreach and communication activities. This is important for impact. This is important to acknowledge the role of academia in transferring knowledge to society. And the last aspect that I would like to emphasize, and here is a distinctive strength of the EUTOPIA CIF program, is the networking aspect of things. The EUTOPIA CIF is really a gateway to a very rich and diverse community that is the scientific community of the 6 universities of the Alliance. I started by emphasizing the importance of mentoring. In fact, under this program, fellows will be mentored by multiple scholars from different universities of the EUTOPIA Alliance. They will be co-hosted, beyond their primary affiliation with one of the 6 universities, they will be co-hosted and co-supervised by a research group from another EUTOPIA university. Well, they will spend between 2 and 6 months of their 2 years fellowship. And this is just one starting starting element of building a broader network, international pan-European network in which the fellows are included and integrated. Another aspect of this emphasis on networking will be the development of peer exchange across fellows of the program and more broadly across young researchers of the EUTOPIA Alliance to stimulate peer-to-peer mentoring and exchange. So these are the key features of the CIF program. I'd be happy to elaborate a little bit further on. And I encourage you to look into more details on the program's webpage if you'd like to know more or to contact me. Before closing, I would like to highlight a couple of other EUTOPIA initiatives that are relevant for early stage researchers. I'll mention them very briefly, and I will extend the discussion a little bit beyond the case of postdocs, essentially. Well, before postdocs, there's docs, and EUTOPIA is also quite active in pushing some new initiatives to favor the integration of doctoral students at the level of the EUTOPIA Alliance. So for 2 years now, we've run a co-tutel program where various universities of the Alliance have decided to jointly co-fund some PhD fellowships under a co-tutel scheme that involves co-supervision by two research groups of the EUTOPIA Alliance, which is a definite sort of a improvement in terms of international exposure early in the career, in the research career, by inserting doctoral students into multiple research environments, and we wish to broaden this into a network of doctoral students at the level of the EUTOPIA Alliance to foster exchange between them. There's an additional program that is meant to support mobility of doctoral students not enrolled in these co-tutel schemes across the EUTOPIA Alliance that is still into development, but well, clearly mobility is not so popular these days, but we hope to open the possibility to support mobility of doctoral students starting from the middle of next year with dedicated financial support. And the last thing I would like to highlight is the EUTOPIA Young Leaders Academy, which is a research leadership program inspired by the program that Sigrid Urbeck described, that is being run at Gothenburg, to provide leadership skills and to create a community for interdisciplinary exchange among young researchers or early stage researchers at the level of the EUTOPIA Alliance. So I will close here, encouraging you to again spread the good news of this EUTOPIA CIF program. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Arno. That's really super summary of what's going on there, and a great way to close the presentations. We have a couple of questions that have come in already, and I would just again encourage those of you listening in to put questions into the chat, and I'll try to bring those to the panel as I can. One of the first questions, actually, there's been some chat about this already in the chat, as it were, but Jess Haney-Lavelle asked a question in the chat, commenting that the real program at Gothenburg sounds amazing, which I agree. And Jess asked a question about the level of the program and whether this is available for students. And it's an interesting question. It's already been commented. Sigrid also commented. Actually, this is designed for the postdoc community, but I'm wondering what the panel thought about in the context of that question, how this kind of approach can actually have an influence on on programs for PhD students and in fact undergraduate students as well. So what we learn in this work, perhaps it can influence what happens in the rest of the university. I wonder if any of the panel have any thoughts about that, if they want to come in. I currently can't quite see who's
I can comment.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes. I mean, we have talked about this. We've been talking about whether it shouldn't be sort of a strand that starts at least from a doctoral level, because these are skills that need to be trained continuously, obviously. But yeah, we have talked about it, but there hasn't been much more action than that. But I definitely see the need to start earlier. That could allow us to focus differently on the different phases in the researcher's life, so to speak.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, it's something worth thinking about. I'm reminded of something that Sarah said earlier about not underestimating the people that are in the room, and that's always a very good idea. And I think it's a common thing that happens in didactic training, that the awareness of the people who are listening is not very strong. And I think my experience of that pervades undergraduate teaching as well as training in sort of more workplace related stuff like this. So, any other comments on that from the panel? Got some more questions. There was a question then. This came from Tabitha Moreira, and it has been answered to a certain extent, but we can perhaps have some comments on this. And it's actually particularly for Arnaud. Tabitha asks, is the program open to students from Latin American universities?
The answer is yes. The program is. Can you hear me? Yeah. The program is very much open to students from Latin American universities. It's actually open to young doctors or early stage researchers with a PhD or at least 4 years of research experience coming from any university on the planet. This is definitely not a program that is restricted to EUTOPIA University's graduates. It's indeed very open. One important element to highlight is that it's subject to the standard Marie Sklodowska-Curie rule of mobility. So if you're living in a particular country, you cannot apply to be hosted by an EUTOPIA University of that particular country. If you're currently studying or living in the UK, you should apply to another country's EUTOPIA University. But apart from that, there's no restriction in terms of origin.
That's very clear. Thank you. Yes, and the experience at Warwick in our co-fund program is that we get applications from around the world, and we look forward to that carrying on. We've had some incredibly important influences in our programs from people around the world in that. So a question from Lauren Powles. Hi there. This is a question actually directed at Alex. What can institutions put in place to allow prolific, in inverted commas, researchers to be selected and prosper in their university? Lauren means prolific in the sense that you described, Alex, I'm sure. Are there prerequisites when it comes to universities' policy for academics, for example, by explicitly valuing and appreciating leadership actions and skills in HR processes? It's a really good question. I mean, are we really going to be able to take on board this thing as recruiters?
So, I mean, it's probably the question to ask in general. And so there's a long answer and no short answer, sadly. And it's certainly the elephant in the room. But here's a little bit of a take from me. Yes, and it's not addressed because we have this bottleneck of less and less jobs worsened by COVID. And it's not that people don't want prolific researchers rather than more, let's say, traditional career path researchers. It is that in the structures people often don't have the courage because they're responsible to the next level of administration. That level is responsible to the next level of administration to justify their decisions. And they often don't have the courage or are not given enough responsibility to decide on this basis. So it is safer to go the traditional path because you can always justify a decision in hindsight, even if a candidate doesn't work out. You can always say, but at least he or she looked good on paper, right? So what needs to be in place is maybe a little bit more room for courage. I think people who are now coming in and learning and to become academics, to become members of departments and so on, take these with them and say like, yes, you know, I want to be more prolific and I want to be in the future open to more prolific candidates. It's changing the culture, which people should also think about as they are slipping into more responsible roles. How can they change the culture? What would they want academia to be like? And the third part is becoming prolific does not only work for within the university. I think that scholars are going to have and be sought out for more and more job opportunities also outside of academia. And by building communities, we also have to build new careers for scholars outside of the traditional university. And the university itself is also a model that is currently critiqued that might be changing or not. It might become a pluriversity, or it might become, you know, just really a trade school. Like a lot is in flux right now. And that means we also have power to generate, regenerate, and transform. And we should take that and we should make the university prolific. We should make demands of the university. We should be open about demands towards HR, towards management, and have courage to say it. And I'm actually convinced if enough people say that, we will find, hey, actually, this is falling on open ears, right?
I saw Pete Scott disappearing from my screen. Pete, are you still here? If not, maybe I'll take on me to answer one of the questions in the chat. A question from Jean-Philippe Krieger about the Young Leaders Academy. In concrete terms, how do we join? We're still developing the format of the Young Leaders Academy, and it should start in September 2021. So you'll be informed in due time on about how to apply and how to enroll. Let me maybe add to the previous discussion in relationship to one of the questions about the relevance of the real program or similar programs for doctoral students. Let me mention here that there's clearly a need for fostering transversal skills, leadership skills also at the doctoral level. This is one thing that we at EUTOPIA have on our radar. We've applied for EU funding for a sister program for the SIF program that would be open at the doctoral level, and that would be focused on sustainable development goals. And this program, if funded and successfully selected by the EU, would try to incorporate some elements of transversal skill training and leadership training at an very early stage in research careers. Of course, I mean, one of the difficulties is that the type of training that you offer needs to be tailored to the particular stage in a research career where attendance sits, and so it's probably not relevant to have a unique sort of leadership program taking everyone on board from PhD +0 or PhD -4 to PhD +10.
Yes, to contribute.
I'm not sure if Pete's back, so I'll kind of just hop in here. So I can't see any more questions in the chat at the moment. So I want to sort of throw something out for maybe just to sort of have some conversations amongst the panel. We've largely been talking about postdoc programs here, but at what point do you think we should, as universities, start talking about leadership with our various populations, undergraduate, postgraduate? Leadership is always so important, and as people have said, we shouldn't leave it to chance and hope people get the right mentor. Yeah, maybe we could have a conversation today. At what point do we start talking about this? Alex, maybe you want to kick it up, come in with something on that.
I think a little bit about this in the same way that you would talk about sex education at school. When is the right time? And you know, for some it's early, you know, to start, and you should start early. For others, it's wasted if you start, for example, at the undergraduate level. Thinking about undergraduate students, I taught for a while in Germany. There were some where it's like, you know, you really have to take them by the hand for everything. And there were others who were just hungry to learn, like, okay, so how can I have this project idea, I do this activist thing, like, I just want to know how I can do it better. Just give me, you know, like this or that tool or this or that idea, or, you know, what can I do to, you know. And I think, like, from the start, you can try to put these things in, you know. If you make something like community, an element of training from the start, people will find their roles. And I think people also need to experiment to find out if they are leaders. I think, and I've stressed this in many conversations, some people are not leaders, and that's okay. You just need to find out, you know, if you want to be a leader. And you can be in different times of your life, find out that you're a leader or not, or you, for some periods of time you want to be, and for other periods of time you don't. And these are things that how to figure that out, you need to learn, and you need to learn by exposure. So expose people quickly to ideas and situations about leadership, so that they can develop an idea of whether they want to be a leader or not, what kind of leader they want to be, and what tools they need.
Thanks, Alex. Well, we're coming towards the end of this session now, and it's been, you know, absolutely fascinating. And I would really like to thank all our speakers for their contributions today. I feel like we've scratched the surface and we've maybe started a debate here, and hopefully we can continue this, and we will see through EUTOPIA, SIF and various other programs the evolution of this kind of training over the next few years. I just want to point out in chat, Mike Hames has put something in there. There is a session this afternoon, the EUTOPIA session on academic careers in higher education, and will the European research area provide momentum for change? Maybe that's where some of the other issues that have been starting to come up here can be addressed more. But as we draw to the end here today, again, just thank you very much to all our speakers. Thank you very much to everyone else who's attended and contributed with questions. And those of you out there who maybe are earlier in your career, can I just wish you all the best and good luck with your future research careers. Thank you very much, everyone.